post-game reaction.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is Dubs OT.
Can't wait.
With John Dickinson.
Hey, JD, what you up to, sugar? Long time no talk to.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
Heel wheeling into Alvarado. Kuminga waters his pass. Oh, drops the sledgehammer. Lindy Waters with him in. Golden State plus 16. With him out, -8.
Look at the reaction from Stephen Curry over there. That says it all.
Yes, it does. Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller on TNT, the television call, as we welcome you into Dubs OT with JD John Dickinson here on KNBR, the sports leader. And how about that? The Golden State Warriors, surprise, surprise. No Steph Curry, no Andrew Wiggins, no DeAnthony Melton, and they also got down by 20 early in the second quarter, but they completely flipped the game from there, and Lindy Waters was the guy who had his hands in everything. 21 points for Lindy Waters, a plus 26 on the night, and the Warriors go on to win this one 124-106. They turned what looked like it could have the potential to be a blowout loss without Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins and DeAnthony Melton into a stunner and a thrilling blowout victory over at Chase Center as the Warriors improved to 3-1 on the year, 1-1 on the Chase Center hardwood, and they'll play the Pelicans again tomorrow. 808 KNBR is the number, 415-808-5627. You can give me a call or shoot me a text here. We've got Greg Silver and Kyle Haar back in our San Francisco studios. As always, appreciate everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch as we come to you once again this season from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. That's right. We've got Shay and Alex manning the place tonight. And cheers to you out there as I'm about to sip on a Harmonic Kolsch here as the Warriors get the victory. So I'm just gonna pause. It looks like Greg's real busy in studio there. Greg, welcome in, my man. How you doing? Big win. Looked like you were answering the phone or something.
I was answering the phone. Dude, we're doing great. I mean, here's the deal, JD. Like, I don't know how sustainable the Warriors playing without Steph Curry over a long haul in the season or a large number of games would be. But when you just take into account all of the bad fourth quarters that this team had last year, that's got to be one of the most fun wins for Dub Nation in a long time. And I can see the chat's fired up. We already have a caller on the board. It's Jacob out in North Beach. So I want to hear his thoughts in just a moment. But yeah, what a time and kind of an unexpected, just good vibes Chase Center night. I mean, you're soaking it in right now at Harmonic. How is it?
Yeah, it's wonderful. And again, all I needed was just 5 seconds just to take this first sip of the 2024-25 season. Greg, here we go. Here we go. Just to everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch, we appreciate you. And this one's for you following this Warriors victory. Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. Stop by, say hi if you're in the area as always. And we're out here after every Dubs game on the home floor here at Harmonic in Thrive City, and it's wonderful to be back here. We got Shay and Alex working tonight. Of course, always Jimmy and Mike. Appreciate everybody. Grace was here earlier. Tolbert and Cope's here earlier. Just wonderful to be back here in Thrive City. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627 to jump in and join the conversation. And wow, I mean, the Warriors were down 34-14 early second quarter. It was an ugly first quarter. What would Steve Kerr do with the starting lineup in this one? Not having Stephen Curry, not having Andrew Wiggins. And so there were multiple moves that were made. He put Brandon Pajemski in to run the point. He put Buddy Hield in for shooting. And then he took Jonathan Kuminga out of the starting lineup. Surprising pregame decision for Steve Kerr to take Kuminga out with Curry and Wiggins already out. I thought maybe he would slide Kuminga to the 4, but keep him in the starting lineup, maybe take Trace Jackson Davis out of the starting lineup. But no, Kerr stuck with Draymond and Trace Jackson Davis on the front line. Moses Moody got the start, and early it was clunky. Not a lot of spacing. 5 offensive players that looked like they were trying to figure each other out and get used to each other in the beginning of the game. And the Warriors just found themselves down 4 early, and then the bench actually initially it got a lot worse as it was 31-14 end of quarter number 1. Kuminga was the first sub in, and he was basically playing the 3 all night, even as a sub, playing some point forward almost, bringing the ball up, and he had a really rough back half of the first quarter, as did everybody that was playing with that bench group. That really the game, like I said, went from a 4-point Warriors deficit primarily with the starters in to a 17-point deficit going to the fourth quarter with the subs in. But Lindy Waters started to come alive in quarter number 2 with the Warriors down 34-14. Warriors were playing defense and forcing some turnovers, and it was able to allow them to get back in the game. Brandon Pajemski had been missing layups, but the Warriors were getting out in transition and playing really good defense. But Lindy Waters flipped the game in the second quarter. He came in and hit some shots and really had his hand in everything. He's rebounding the ball. He was playing good defense, just an energy guy. But Lindy Waters, terrific in that second quarter to help kind of flip the game. Jonathan Kuminga, much better second 7-8 minute stretch. Kerr basically played him 15 minutes straight. The final 7-8 minutes of the first quarter, the first 7-8 minutes of the second quarter, and he came on in that final 7-8 minute stretch, basically the second quarter stint of the overall 15-minute stretch. And after a poor beginning, he was coming up with a couple of steals. He was doing dirty work, and he was running the floor. And I thought actually played a pretty solid second quarter after a rough first quarter. And the Warriors were able to claw their way back into the game, outscoring the Pelicans 33-20 in the second quarter. Pajemski started to come alive. But, yeah, the Warriors forcing turnovers and had a whole heck of a lot going for them because they were able to force those turnovers. The Pelicans were able to stave the Warriors off. They cut it to 1. Pelicans won the final couple of minutes of quarter number 2, 6-3 to be up 51-47 at the half. But then in the third quarter, Steve Kerr made a lineup change. Lindy Waters in and Buddy Hield off the bench. More on Buddy Hield in a minute. And then the Warriors able to hang with the Pelicans through that first half of the third quarter. Ultimately, Waters gives the Warriors the lead. Moses Moody with a couple of big buckets. It was really a lot of Moses Moody with Waters and Pajemski and Kuminga. Big third quarters from Pods and Moody and Kuminga, who continued his ascent on the night. Rough start, better in the second quarter, even better in the third quarter. He was passing the ball. He was getting to the bucket a little bit. Really nice third quarter from Jonathan Kuminga. And then Buddy Hield went off. Couple of threes late in the third quarter to help stem the tide after the Pelicans had cut down the Warriors' lead. And then Buddy Hield goes nuts in the fourth quarter overall as he ends up with 19 of his 28 in the fourth quarter, 25 of his 28. We talked about those three-pointers that he hit at the end of the third quarter, and the Warriors blow this thing open. 33-20 in the second, 40-28 in the third, and then 37-27 in the fourth. So a plus 35 in this one for the Warriors over the final three quarters after trailing by 17 after a quarter of play, and a lot of game balls to go around here. But Lindy Waters, the headliner, a guy who went from being the 13th man on the Dubs to 21 points, 8 boards, and 4 assists. Brandon Pajemski, hell of a floor game for him. 5 assists, couple of blocks, 19 points for Pajemski. And out of nowhere, Buddy Hield, who was awful in the first half, couldn't make a shot to save his life in the first half. He goes for 19 in the fourth quarter of the Warriors, as our buddy Greg Silver alluded to, one of their one of their most quality wins when you look at how shorthanded they were really in the last couple of years. They hadn't done a lot of that without Steph Curry, but to do it tonight, certainly meaningful as this team tries to find an identity for themselves in 2024-25. And anytime Steph Curry's not in the lineup, it's kind of an uh-oh. And then you get down 20 and it becomes an even bigger uh-oh. They touted their depth, and their depth with the 13th man on the roster being the best player on the floor for a good chunk of the night, if not the entire night. Lindy Waters plus 26. Their 13th man just won them a game as the best player on the floor without Steph Curry. That's a hell of a feat, and it does for sure flex the Warriors' depth in this ball game tonight. So 808 KNBR, those are some initial thoughts here as we get things rolling from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. It's Dubs OT with JD on the Sports Leader. Love to see everybody filing into the YouTube chat. Erwin Kwong and Rockin' New Era, Estimated Eyes, appreciate that as well. Lance Malone, welcome, saying Charles Barkley looks sad on TNT. Is that because the Warriors were kicking butt and taking names in the second half? Derek Papa, he may be biased, but he says the only Warriors post game he watches is with John Dickinson. That's me. Appreciate that. That's probably going to wind up being a drop as Greg Silver laughs his ass off back in our San Francisco studios. Larry, wow, a D Papa appearance in the chat too. Rebel to Sounds. Already worried about a problem we don't need to be worried about tonight. Lindy Waters about to get some Moody minutes. Moody had a good game. Yeah, Moody had a really nice third quarter tonight that really helped them. And Douglas Mikes, I told you guys that Kerr was going to bench Kuminga, and ended up looking good. I think it's a great night for Steve Kerr because, and I give Kuminga credit in this because I was really surprised that Kuminga wound up being the odd man out, given the fact that Curry and Wiggins were not playing. I kind of saw it coming too, Douglas Mikes, but I thought it was going to be more when this team was closer to full strength, and maybe they wanted to get a DeAnthony Melton or Brandon Podziemski into the starting lineup without separating Draymond Green or Trace Jackson Davis. But for John, and it was looking like uh-oh city in the first quarter because Kuminga was not good in quarter number one. But for him to bounce back off of a rough start and to shake it off and to end up having a really nice floor game, I thought tonight, 17 points, 6 of 13. He didn't have a rebound in the first half, but he was much more active in the second half. He had a couple of dimes. He had 3 assists, a couple of dimes, but he had a couple of steals. He had a block, a couple of turnovers. Those were in that first bad stretch that I mentioned. But for Kuminga to play 2 really long stretches, basically a 15 and a 13-minute stretch respectively, and end up flipping his night into a positive one, and the Warriors to get the win, now the questions after the game aren't, hey, JK, are you upset about not starting? Steve, you got beat by the Pelicans. How could you take away a guy who many believe to be their number 2 scoring option on this team, and you don't have Stephen Curry or Andrew Wiggins, and you bench him on that night? Like, there was a lot of negativity that could have been surrounding the decision to pull Jonathan Kuminga from the starting lineup in general, even more based on the tonight being the night. But for him to rebound after the difficult start tonight and be a positive performer overall and help this team win a game shorthanded, it makes Jonathan Kuminga look good. It makes him look like a professional, and it makes Steve Kerr look good for making the move on a night where it really didn't appear like that was necessarily going to be the case. So 808 KNBR, let's get back to and get our tip-off caller of the night is Jacob in North Beach, and he joins us here on the Sports Leader. What's going on, Jacob?
Hey, great game tonight. It was a hell of a game. I do have to say, after Curry not playing, it definitely was a nervy first quarter. But coming in with Podziemski, I have to say he's one of the most underrated players in the league. Last year, leading with charges blocked. It's an underrated stat, of course, considering just the amount of intelligence that it takes. But I'm just blown away with Podziemski's play. He's definitely one of the players that I think the Warriors are going to lean on a lot, considering the fatigue and durability of Curry and the age of some of the other players, as well as just the the variability with the team, considering the amount of turnover in the last year.
Yeah, Podziemski stepped up in a big way tonight, running the point. He said, Jacob, that he's more comfortable playing the point than he is basically playing the two. So I think, with Melton out, obviously there was nowhere else really for Kerr to go. But Podziemski does have an ability to command a team, and he's not afraid to shoot, but he also looks to get others involved as well. And he does the little things, like you mentioned, the charges. He rebounds. He had a couple of blocks and a steal himself tonight. I think one of the overarching themes of the night, the Warriors, after they got down, really dug in defensively and really played an excellent defensive game and forced a lot of the turnovers that the Pelicans had. And it really wound up, I think, being the big difference. 54-30 in terms of bench points. The Pelicans had 24 turnovers. The Warriors turned them into 34 points. The turnover margin in this one, 24-8. The Warriors had 8, and they had a 29-point advantage in points off turnovers. Warriors had a 34-5 edge in points off turnovers, but you don't get that unless you're playing quality defense, Jacob. And I thought, again, it was a little, like this thing could turn into a blowout the wrong way for the Warriors. But once they got the defense going, they really were tenacious throughout the night. And I don't think the Pelicans were expecting it once they got up 20, that the Warriors were going to keep fighting. It's a credit to everybody up and down the Warriors roster to be able to do it shorthanded.
Yeah, definitely. I think they really leaned on each other. It shows, especially without like a leader like Curry. Again, Draymond always still a leader, but now that they lost Clay, it's really interesting considering the lineup's completely shifted. They did replace him pretty well with Buddy Hield. Like these last few games have been crazy, just considering how quickly he's meshed in. But Podziemski as a floor general, I think he really kind of supplies that just grit and intensity that they need. And like, he doesn't even seem like it's his second year in the league. It's crazy. He's already commanding the presence on the floor, and amongst the other players, I feel like he already seems like a leader amongst them. And his plus minus is insane. I think what was in the first game, he didn't even score a point, but he still had a plus 34 plus minus. Just, I don't know, just really, really motivating for other players just to see that you don't have to score to make a big impact.
No doubt. And then he's a guy who's out in Portland, basically for 90 minutes after the game, getting shots up because he didn't make a shot and his three ball was not where he wanted it to be, obviously. And he's a worker at a young age too, just 21, which I think is also impressive. Jacob, thanks for the call, man. Really appreciate it tonight, and don't make it your last.
Of course. Great to hear from you, JD, and have a good one, Greg.
Yeah, appreciate it. Jacob in North Beach checking in, talking about this one as the Warriors get the win over the Pelicans. First of two. Pelicans at Chase Center tomorrow. And, of course, we'll have Dubs OT right back out here at Harmonic Brewing following that one. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Let's keep it rolling on the phone lines with Drew Down. What's going on, Drew Down and Tracy, up next here on the Sports Leader? Hey, Drew Down.
All right, what's going on? Good evening, JD. Man, I didn't get to watch a whole lot of this game. I was out there bowling in my league tonight. I had the TV on in between shots.
That's right. Tuesday night, Drew Down. I remember Tuesday night. Tuesday
and Thursday. So it's hard out here for a Pam these days for the games. But I was watching that first quarter was ugly. They closed the deficit in the first half. And, man, that second half, man, I've been telling people about Lindy Waters, man. I've seen him in the preseason. The kid can flat out shoot the ball, 21, 8 and 4, and I want to say he had a team high of plus 26. So man, but shout out Lindy Waters stepping up. But that's amazing. Buddy Hield, I'm pretty sure he was horrible in the first. He was Sherman Klump in the first half, and he was Buddy Love in the second half. So 28 from Buddy Love. I know Kings fans were clutching their pearls and punching the air watching Buddy Hield do what he does in the second half. So Brandon
Podziemski. Hey, let me jump in real quick, Drew, now, because I want to get the number for you. So Buddy Hield in the first half was 1 for 8, 1 of 5 from 3. He had 3 points in the first half. He's 1 for 8. In the second half, he was 8 for 10, and he was 6 for 6 on threes. He made all 6 of his threes in the second half and ended up with 28, 19 of them in the fourth quarter, 6 for 6 after the 1 of 5 start. He goes from cold to hot like nobody I think I've ever seen. It's incredible.
Like I said, I was kind of in and out of the game. I definitely saw the stat line in the first half, and I was like, man. And then, I saw some of the shots he was hitting, and, just an incredible performance. And that's kind of the player he is. And in some ways, that's kind of the player that Klay Thompson was, right? He could streak with the best of them. So just an amazing performance by Buddy. I think Kuminga was 17. I saw some drives he had. Podziemski was 19. Moody was 17 on 8 field goal attempts. I mean, against a tough Pelicans team. So, like I said, I got to go back and watch some of the specifics. But, to beat that team with Steph, Wiggins, and Melton out, I just think, man, that's just a great sign. I was super excited watching the game, watching this team take over in the second half. And, I know Steph's out for another game or two. I don't know how long, Wiggins or Melton are out. But, strength in numbers, at least it showed itself at least for one night. So, like I said, man, I'm happy. Let's keep it rolling, baby. It's Warriors season, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, appreciate it, Drew Down. And look, I mean, Lindy Waters the third is somebody that the Warriors identified out of the Thunder organization. I mean, he'd been on the Thunder the last couple of years. He'd been a two-way player. He'd been somebody at the back end of an incredibly deep roster in Oklahoma City with a lot of really good quality young players that were playing ahead of him. But the Warriors organization, they identified him as somebody that they thought they could, get for relatively a low cost, a second round pick that they wound up getting back, and that they could bring him onto the roster as depth and maybe even give him an opportunity to play. And look, he hit the big three in the opener of the preseason over in Honolulu and had a real nice game there, had a really nice preseason. But you're kind of wondering, all right, well, how does that really fit in the regular season? But Steve Kerr has praised him. I mean, Steve Kerr said before the opener that he felt Lindy Waters could be somebody that could be in the rotation, but you can't play 13, right? You can play 10, 11. He made the decision to play 12, but it couldn't be 13. So he had said before the opener, he told Lindy Waters, all right, you're not going to see time in the regular rotation. I guess the joke, and I'm sure we'll hear it, coming up later here in Sounds of Silver, I guess Steve Kerr told reporters over at Chase in the Bill King interview room postgame that he's decided he's going to play a 13-man rotation now when everybody is healthy to make sure he can get Lindy Waters the third in there. But no, he's impressed, and it's not just the shooting, which is obviously his greatest skill, but he plays a little bigger than he is. He can move the ball, and he's not a bad defender either. So he could wind up potentially being a real find. And let me tell you, and Greg, you know this, if you listen to our Dubs OT podcast yesterday, you knew that Lindy Waters III was going to get time tonight because we told you on the Dubs OT podcast following the Clipper game. We recorded it yesterday in the early afternoon after we got the Steph and Andrew Wiggins and DeAnthony Melton news, but we gave you a little sneak peek that Lindy Waters was going to get some time tonight.
Well, how crazy is it, the timing that pregame Sunday, Steve Kerr said he was going to go with the same starting five, said he was going to still do the 12-man, ended up really being 11 with Kyle Anderson just playing those 4 minutes in the second quarter, but kind of just essentially saying Lindy Waters is still our 13th, but I have been so impressed with him that I would feel comfortable starting him tonight. And then for Steph, Melton, and Wiggins to all go down, and in the span of 48 hours, it's late first quarter, 2:35 left. He's like, well, we got to get some offense. I'm going to put Lindy Waters in. And he became the best offensive player for a team that just needed answers tonight. And not only did he make a 20-point deficit go to nothing, he made it go to a 20-point lead. So that's just pretty crazy that a guy who nobody knew who he was, the 52nd pick of the draft was traded for. I'll tell you right now, that is way more return on investment for pick number 52 than you're ever going to get in normal circumstances.
You know, impressive stuff. Third time in Lindy Waters' career, by the way, that he's had 20 or more points. So he did get opportunities with Oklahoma City. And yeah, his career high, 25. If you go all the way back to March of 2022, getting an opportunity. So it's not completely his first rodeo in terms of being in the NBA and being able to put some points up. But yeah, not a lot of opportunities in OKC with the depth that they have throughout that organization and on their NBA roster. But some opportunities for him to come here and look, the whole strength in numbers, depth is going to be the biggest key to the Warriors' success this year. It's off to a really good start through the first 4 games of the season, and tonight is just an exclamation point based on what Lindy Waters was able to do in this one, and Podziemski shifting into the starting lineup, and just everybody that was. I mean, Kyle Anderson was a +9, and he had an awful shooting night. 0 for 9, 0 for 6 from 3, 1 of 2 at the free throw line. He scored 1 point. He was +9. Kyle Anderson played a lot of really good defense in this one. Moses Moody steps up. And, Steve Kerr decides to go with Moody as a starter, basically over Kuminga, and they both end up with 17 points. It worked out for Moses Moody. It worked out for Jonathan Kuminga. It worked out for the Warriors, again, after the slow start. It looked like it was going to be a long night at Chase, but the Warriors get the job done, and they win this one 124-106, completely flipping the game after trailing by 20 early in the second quarter. All right, let's get one more in here before the top of the hour. I'm glad I checked my phone page one more time because I don't want to keep Danny in Vancouver waiting any longer. Appreciate you chiming in here tonight on Dubs OT. What's going on, Danny? How are you?
Hey, my friend. I'm good, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing very well. The floor is yours, so I can take a quick sip of the Cole share.
Please sit back and relax. Thank you so much to you and Greg. That was so much fun. I'm telling you, the first quarter, though, my heart sank, and I thought, oh, my God, this is beyond ugly. And I thought, God, are we did really, we talked about the depth and how much depth we have. This is all we've got? And then they started to come on. And I was thinking when they tied it, they started to move ahead. I thought, you know what? I'm so proud of these guys. Even if they lose, I'm really proud of the way they fight and play defense and work hard to get back in the game. And then, of course, I got greedy as the game went on. Lindy Waters was so much fun to watch. He obviously wasn't able to get the playing time in Oklahoma because they're so deep, but I think he's a great fit for the Warriors. Buddy Hield was awesome again. He went off. I mean, he's just a weapon. I mean, when he's on, he's just unstoppable. Really ugly first quarter. I don't know about Kuminga. I'm going to make a statement. He's supremely talented. I just don't know if he fits in the Warriors game, if he's going to really thrive. I just feel like, and I'd love to hear your comments, JD, and I'm a terrible optimist, but I just don't see Kuminga ever really reaching that high potential in the NBA. I don't know if it's the fit in Golden State or he plays so much ISO ball or he just, I don't know, fits into the ethos of the Warriors. So I'd love to hear your comments. Thanks as always. I never missed the overtime show, so take it away.
All right. Appreciate it, Danny. Yeah, absolutely. And we thank you for listening and watching if that's your thing as well. But no, we really appreciate it. As far
Danny's
as Kuminga,
awesome.
Look, yeah, we love Danny. I give Kuminga, as I mentioned, a lot of credit tonight for really turning around what was, the beginning of the game for everybody was kind of, but he was really bad those first 7 minutes. And all I was thinking at that point was, oh man, this is going to be one of those games where Kuminga doesn't start, doesn't play well, the Warriors lose, and everybody after the game is asking Steve Kerr, well, you got beat and you benched a guy that figured to, at least coming into the year in a lot of people's eyes, be your number 2 scorer. And now he's upset and going to his agent and, feeling that Steve Kerr's lost faith in him again and all these. Like, I'm thinking worst case scenario, like you're going to lose Jonathan Kuminga and you're going to lose the game and you're going to have this kind of firestorm that you're going to have to be accountable for. And then it didn't happen. And it didn't happen in part because Kuminga played really well for 21 of the 28 minutes that he was on the court tonight. And it was the last 21 minutes. And, as far as the fit and all those things, I mean, I've said it. He's not a 3. I think in the Warriors, he played better at the 3 in those last 21 minutes. I'll be honest, than he has in the Warriors' normal, in their normal rotate. In the Warriors' normal rotation, with everybody that they have on this roster, he's just not a 3 to me. He is better off as a 4. I think he can score more effortlessly. He can use the gravity of other players to get space on the court to where he's got real short drives to the bucket, layup, dunks. It's just a more simplified position for him offensively. And then if you're a coach, you can say, hey, we want you to rebound. We want you to run the court. We want you to defend, all those things. But you don't have to think about being a guy that's putting the ball on the deck out on the perimeter, trying to drive and do those things. Like, you're going to take the easy drives because the defense is going to be spun in a bunch of different directions. Tonight, again, with them so shorthanded, I thought Steve was going to look to play him a little bit more at the 4 than he did. He basically played the 3 the whole night. And again, his shot isn't there. I think his shot selection is not there. I think he's caught between a rock and a hard place. I think he's been told to take certain shots, so he takes them. I think then he misses them and he tries to be a little bit more selective. He gets in between on his, do I want to drive and look to score? Do I want to drive and look to pull up? Do I want to drive and look to pass? I just don't think he fits as a 3 with the full Warrior complement of players. That being said, I do think he's a talent, and I do think tonight's a positive step, just based on the fact that it all worked out, and we're not necessarily talking about a firestorm. He played well. The Warriors played well. The move that Kerr made benefited everyone, and so if he's going to his agent and there's a story that leaks in the next couple of days that, he wants out or he wants a trade or he's not satisfied with his role because Kerr brought him off the bench, then that's on him at that point. And so, again, I think the Warriors are showing as much development and patience with him as they've shown at any point in his career, because he's playing him at the 3 and it hasn't necessarily gone great, but Kerr stuck with it for the most part. And, tonight I think is even a perfect example of that. I mean, he told him pregame he was going to play him a lot, even though he wasn't starting, and he played him a lot. Even though he wasn't starting, stayed true to his word and even let him play through some early struggles. So I think Steve Kerr gets credit for that, but I think Kuminga above all gets the most credit for playing well in this game tonight and having it be a non-story. At least it should be a non-story heading into tomorrow. All right, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Let's go ahead and take our first break here. We'll come back. We still got a couple of lines open. We'll get to the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line, and we will get into the YouTube chat as well, as the Warriors come from 20 down to win by 18 over the Pelicans, 124-106. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader. Dickinson. That's me. That's probably going to wind up being a drop.
Hoops Heads, Dubs OT with John Dickinson keeps balling. Streaming live at twitch.tv/thesportsleader.
And Houston picked up Waters through.
Look at this, man. This kid is on fire.
It's the first Golden State lead since the opening minutes of the game. McCollum stutter stepping, watches on the run. Rebound by Jackson Davis. Lindy Waters. They want to run, they want to push the pace, pedal to the middle, Pajemski on top. Jackson Davis, here comes Moody!
Yeah, 71-67 at that point, and Moses Moody would add a 3 to make it 74-67. Warriors pushed it up to 8 on a great Jonathan Kuminga pass to Trace Jackson Davis. Impressive stuff there as the Warriors just all over the Pelicans in this one. If you take the final 3 quarters, as the Warriors win it 124-106, but 110-75 Warriors, 110-75 over the final 3 quarters of this one after trailing by 17 into the first quarter. And the Pelicans even hit a 3 to begin the second quarter. And then it was all Warriors from that point on as they improved to 3-1. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. That is the number to give us a call or shoot us a text here. The Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line open. And as always, again, cheers to you as we come to you from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City, as we do after each and every Dubs contest over at Chase Center, and the Warriors 1-1 at Chase Center on the season. Erwin Kwong checking in, our buddy Erwin, as we dig into the YouTube chat here. Reggie Miller made a great observation. Kuminga's an unrefined scorer with the score mentality. Kuminga just need more reps and situational recognition, when to press his shot or flow with the offense. I thought that was something you saw in real time tonight. Like, he just looked so uncomfortable in what he was trying to do. And yeah, he does have a score mentality. And I think the Warriors have told him to look to try to score, when he gets the ball in certain positions, but he's also trying to run the offense. He's also trying to, at times he's playing with a couple of Hall of Famers, so he has to be able to fit that in. I think that's a pretty good observation. I thought tonight, as the game went on, he really did start to have it come a little bit more naturally to him. When was his time to go? When was his time to pass? I think that's a credit to him, and it is a credit to reps. Again, I don't know how long they're going to stick with him at the 3, but you can't blame him for not giving him a lot of opportunities. Steve Kerr stayed with it. I thought tonight was an opportunity to pivot and maybe play him a little bit more at the 4, even if they were going to look to bring him off the bench. But no, Kerr didn't do it. He basically played the 3 for the duration of the ball game. Rebel to Sounds, Warriors went on that run with Kuminga on the bench. So when he got back, he made sure he stepped his game up. I think that's well said. Yeah, no, Kuminga was bad. He was a big part of the poor start that the Warriors got off to. And again, when he came in, they were down 4. When the second quarter started, they were down 17 and then 20. So at one point, he was a minus 16. Kuminga was a minus 16 at one point. But then from there, he ended up a plus on the night. So he ended up plus 20 from that point on, from minus 16 to plus 4. So again, over those last basically 21 minutes he was on the court, he was a plus 20. So he did figure it out and stepped, made sure to step his game up. AJ Cruz 75, JD, appreciate you. Bill M, Lance Malone, Waters flowing. Yeah, it is a Derek Papa multiverse. Rockin' New Era 84. No question. OPG agreeing with Irwin. Kuminga's recognition improving, and with that, his ability to act versus pause. Those pauses are what gets him in trouble as the defense sets up for him, and he's staying in position on defense. Rebel to Sounds. Buddy had a good second half. Buddy had a great second half. 25 points in the second half. And again, just to pause here for a second, this is why we love the YouTube comments. This is why we love it. It is a community of engagement, of back and forth, agreement, disagreement. Hey, good point. It's really what makes the show special. I just want to get on my soapbox for 10 seconds on that and just kind of push forward. So I appreciate you, Greg, for
I'm going to say it again
to do that.
Chat goes hard.
The chat goes hard. The chat goes hard, and we love the chat. Lance Malone with a question. We always have YouTube up rocking. YouTube's not going anywhere. Rocking New Era 84. Like we love it. We love the people. We are all about the people. We are all about being able to interact as many different ways as possible. Drew Down calling and watching. I love it. Like Drew Down's just a multifaceted. Like I'm pretty sure Drew Down listens, calls, and watches. Like depending upon what's going on. Like if he's got the bowling league going, he's probably listening a little bit while he's going from the bowling league to like check out the game, and then he's calling in. And then, I mean, is there anybody more versatile, Greg, than Drew Down in terms of the way he consumes Dubs OT and consumes what we have to offer here at KNBR?
When KNBR's account tweets out all the links for the different ways you can engage with Dubs OT, I'm convinced that Drew Down has got 2 different devices and probably clicks them all, switching between the 4 at some point.
Yeah, I'm going to listen here. I'm going to watch here. I'm going to call 808 KNBR, and we're good to go. He's still bowling. Estimated Eyes. He's still bowling. Maybe Estimated Eyes is actually in that league, and that's a real thought and real talk here. Lance Malone with a question that only JD could love. Why are they playing the Pelicans again tomorrow? That's a great question. I have no idea. I have no idea. Like, because the NBA has become infatuated with these little 2 games, these little mini series in the same city. It started during COVID as a means to limit travel and so you could get all the games in. And if you had a game get delayed or postponed because of some COVID protocols, you'd have the same 2 teams in the same city. And so you could, in theory, play the next day if you had to miss one of the games, or you could. But yeah, it's to limit travel. And I think what they've tried to do is add some back-to-backs where teams are home. Like there are fewer back-to-backs, or they've tried to limit back-to-backs, but a lot of the back-to-backs are the same teams playing in the same cities. So that, in theory, is limiting the back-to-back. Whereas maybe in other years, the Warriors would go to Denver tomorrow and play, or go to Phoenix tomorrow and play. And so both teams have the advantage of, yes, it's a back-to-back, but the Pelicans are going back to their hotel in San Francisco and then coming back to Chase Center tomorrow to play. The Warriors are going home and coming back, as opposed to like having 2 teams getting on a plane to go play somewhere else. Like the Pelicans might be going to play in Phoenix tomorrow, while the Warriors are going to play in Denver tomorrow. And under other circumstances, they're like, hey, this is kind of stupid from a rest standpoint. And so let's just play that other game. I don't really like it, because to me, it's like you should play everybody at different points in the season. But again, maybe I'm just an old head when it comes to that. So 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Real takes chiming in the YouTube chat. This year's Dubs, light years better than last year's team. Light years better. I think that coming into the season, but you got to remember last year's team was 6-2. So, I mean, we'll see. And they didn't have to deal with not having Steph Curry for a little bit longer period of time. Ebe here Waters and Pajemski changed the whole game. New Orleans got tired, but the Warriors didn't. And, look, Waters changed the game. Pajemski was really good after that first stretch with the starters where a lot of folks didn't play well. But it was an excellent game from both of them, top to bottom. And, yeah, Pajemski likes running the point. So I don't think there was any doubt with Melton out that Pods wasn't going to get the nod there. But he's very comfortable with it. He's very comfortable being the lead guard. And I think that's impressive at 21 years old, especially with star power out like was for the Warriors in this one. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. As it is Dubs OT with JD here on KNBR, the sports leader. San Jose Jazz fan the fourth. JK was not gutless. No, he was not gutless. He showed a lot of guts. He didn't play well early, and he bounced back, even though he probably was pissed off he wasn't starting. He probably was. Like, I found it to be stunning when he wasn't starting. And to be honest, I think, JK, knowing him, he might have had a reason to be ticked off. You're not starting when you're number one and number two offensive options, perennially throughout their careers. I mean, you look at Curry and Wiggins, guys who've done it at an all-star level in the league, both of them are out, and you fancy yourself maybe the two to begin with, and you're not starting. Like, I bet he was feeling some kind of way, but he was not gutless at all. And, yeah, Erwin Kuminga's reverse cradle dunk. Yeah, spectacular. He had a couple of great passes. You get him out, one on nobody, going to the bucket in a big moment, and everybody was standing up over at Chase Center tonight. So let's keep it rolling on the phone lines, 808 KNBR. We got Cruiser in the 209. What's going on tonight, Cruiser?
What's up, JD? Hey, I also missed the first half, but I watched the second, so I met the minimum viewing requirement. So what's up to the YouTube chat? Look, all I want to say is, and maybe this is a stretch here, but this is kind of giving me the kind of feels where the first title run team, I'm not saying we're there, I'm not saying that at all, but what I'm saying is it's fun watching these guys again, because when KD came on board and we were blowing people out left and right, that kind of became the barometer. Like, we expected to do that, and if we weren't doing it, then we were doing something wrong, right? But just watching the game, not really having much expectation, watching us get us into some trouble, and then watching us dig our way out, that's the fun thing about it, especially with all the uncertainty with Clay no longer being here. What's the team going to look like? How's Steph going to act? Is Kuminga going to take those steps? What about our bench? I think we've seen a lot of answers, and I know it's really still too early, but you know what? I'm just glad it's fun to watch a game and get sucked into the drama of it and not have to worry about head cases and playing time and rumors and blah, blah, blah. Look, just let them play. Sit down, enjoy it, love it, because when it's over for good, it's over. I'm here for the run, JD. Super Reporter!
Appreciate it, Cruiser. Thanks for the time. 808 KNBR. Cruiser's line open for you. Jump in and join the conversation here tonight on Dubs OT. Hey, have a good night. Have a good night here on The Sports Leader. We got people saying good night as they exit after having a couple of pops here at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. But, look, there is something refreshing, Greg, about this team. It's, Steph and Draymond are still here. Steve Kerr is still here. They've got a lot of the young players that they've had for the last couple of years, and they're trying to make a better go of it. They're trying to, I think, maybe strip down some of the expectations, but also have a little bit more of a connectivity between young and old, the skill sets of individual players fitting together. And I think they've been able to cobble together a good fight. Look, tonight goes a long way. Tonight goes a long way toward the potential to build something special. It doesn't mean they're going to have it. It doesn't mean that it's all going to work out. But for them to win this game the way that they did, as shorthanded as they were, and to have basically the 13th man, the one guy that Steve Kerr was like, yeah, I would fit him in the rotation, but I can't step up and be the best player on the court that is a statement to the depth that the Warriors have. And I always say, and Greg, you've heard me say this a lot, that the two different kinds of depth, right? Teams have the depth where everybody's basically in the right spot. And when everybody's in the right spot, you love your 10, 11 guys. There's that kind of depth, right? There's also the, hey, 2, 3 of your best players are out, and you've got guys who can step in and start and be productive to the point where you can win games. And I would have bet that the Warriors have more of the first kind of depth than the second kind of depth. But the reality is, Greg, that tonight is the kind of night that maybe makes you think that the Warriors have the second kind of depth, because they were able to go out and beat a pretty good Pelicans team. I mean, look at some of the names of the Pelicans. I mean, the Pelicans, I know they don't have DeJounte Murray, but we're talking about CJ McCollum, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones. I mean, all these guys are playing. Jose Alvarado. I mean, the Pelicans put, for the most part, their A team out there, aside from DeJounte Murray, and the Warriors got
Trey
20.
Murphy also torched the Warriors last year. I'll be fair on that one.
He did. Like I said, it's what we're talking. I think five of their top 6, right? 5 of their top 6, 5 of their top 7.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, Murphy's definitely. I mean, Murphy's definitely one of their best players. So yeah, I mean, again, but they had a lot more going tonight than the Warriors did. I mean, you take 30 away, you take Wiggins away, but to be able to be down from, at that point, no, Murphy's terrific. I love Murphy, but tonight is a statement, Greg, toward maybe the Warriors have a little bit of that other kind of depth.
No, it 100% counts. I think it's ridiculous to say that it doesn't. Now, you're right in that they started 6-2 last year, and winning this game alone doesn't mean anything other than they're 3-1, and that was a really nice win. But to have this happen the 4th game of the season, and a win like that with no Steph, no Wiggins, who was playing really well, and no DeAnthony Melton, who is theoretically a great two-way option for you, and then go watch your team have nothing offensively in the first quarter, get down 20, game looked pretty hopeless, and then do the opposite of what we would have seen last year's Warriors team do. I mean, if anything, it would have been flipped. Like, the Warriors would have had most of their guys available without, say, maybe Klay Thompson or something like that. And the Pelicans would have trotted out there with like no Zion and no Brandon Ingram, and then Jose Alvarado and guys, what's the guys, Robinson, Earl, players like that would have gone out and probably torched the Warriors in a way that just let the game slip away from them. So yes, 100% counts. The Western Conference is loaded. So when you do this to a Western Conference team, when you get to the end of the year, JD, look, 46 games wasn't even enough to get a home play-in game last year. So every game that you can take advantage of, in addition to building the positive vibes that this probably will do for the team tonight, of course it counts. And I mean, yeah, to have it happen in 4th game of the season, that's great. I guess I'll just add on that when we have a live post-game show, we're undefeated right now.
That's a fact. 3-0. And also 3-0 with yours truly in attendance. 3-0.
I'm never going to another game.
Look at me taking credit here again. But no, it is. You're right. I mean, it is. When you look at the differences between last year and this year, I think everything that you say is spot on when it comes to, this team was just, they were any game. Here's the way I'll put it. And those who've listened for a long time know, but anytime you don't have Steph, my default position is, well, they can lose to anybody. They can lose to anybody and probably not beat most teams. Tonight, I think, makes me wonder. And this is a new year with a new kind of depth. And so I'm more open-minded to giving it a look. But for them to win this game without Steph, I think it says something. And look, maybe they go on and they lose the next 9 games they have to play without Steph. We'll see. But like I said, I'm more open-minded toward giving it a chance to play out and seeing if this team in the regular season, because I do think they have good regular season depth. I really do. And I think tonight definitely shows that off. So, all right, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Let's go ahead and take another break here, and we'll come back. We'll get Sounds of Silver. I do want to hit a couple on the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. Who gets your game ball tonight? Pretty hard not to go with Lindy Waters III for his 21-point performance. We've got Sounds of Silver, fun with numbers. It's all coming up here. It's Dubs OT with JD from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City right here on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader. Cheers.
Did you hear something?
Yeah, like a swoosh.
Yeah.
Dubs OT presents the sounds of silver. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
All right, welcome back at Harmonic Brewing. It's John Dickinson. It's Dubs OT with JD, the best after the game show in the Bay, hands down. There's no question about it. It's not up for debate. 808 KNBR is the number, 415-808-5627. Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. Warriors win. That's right, Warriors win 124-106 after trailing by 20. Incredible. It was 34-14. Pelicans early in the second quarter, 34-14. And the Warriors from that point on would go on to a 110-34 advantage throughout the 110-74 advantage. 110-72 advantage. Jesus, try and do math on the fly here after you've been hanging out at Harmonic here and sipping on a Kolsch, and things can get a little bit crazy pretty quickly. Greg, save me, my man. We got Sounds of Silver, then back to the YouTube chat. I swear to you, at one point in my life, I was pretty good at math. But, 110-72 was the turnaround in this one for the Warriors in winning by 18.
Yeah, pretty crazy when you consider it, when you just kind of watched the first quarter and the eye test told you, this is one of those you're going to lose to the Wembanyama-less Spurs without Steph kind of teams trotting out there. And then things changed, and when they changed, it was quick. And I think that's kind of been a common theme this year, JD, is that not only have things changed, but it seems to happen pretty quick. And yeah, they did it against bad teams to start the year, but Pelicans, even without DeJounte Murray and Trey Murphy, much better team than Portland and Utah are probably going to end up being this year. So a lot of really good sound to get to, kind of hard to narrow it down. And we're actually going to go with 6 cuts because of all the interwoven storylines within this one. But I'll start it with a short one and a nice wholesome one, just 10 seconds. And it was Buddy Hield from the TNT postgame after the game, just saying that a certain good shooter gave him a little pep talk at halftime, told him to keep shooting. And I don't know, man, that must have done the trick.
Send me to shoot the blanket ball. Sometimes you need somebody like that coming to you, and I responded well. Like I said, thank God. All the glory to him.
Buddy. You gotta love Buddy Hield, man. Yeah, and you gotta love Steph Curry. I mean, shooters have to shoot. And look, for Steph to say that to Buddy, especially on a night where, he's not playing, I think it's important. Not that Buddy necessarily needed the nudge, Greg, but hey, nobody has the ability to go from as cold as Buddy Hield was to as hot as Buddy Hield was as Buddy Hield. I mean, there are few players in the game that have the ability to do it, that are confident enough in their own abilities and skilled enough to do it. And Buddy Hield is one of those guys.
Yeah, we've seen both sides of it now already in a very small sample size of games. Yeah. In fact, we saw both sides of it in a single game tonight.
Yes, we did.
But look, it's been said a lot of times, and we're going to keep saying it, with or without Klay Thompson returning to the team, the Warriors were going to need to add shooting, and Buddy Hield can do that skill better than just about any player in the league. Defensively, he's so far exceeded my expectations too.
Yeah, he's been solid. I mean, he hasn't gotten himself twisted in making turnovers offensively when he's looked to pass. Sometimes he looks to do a little too much with the ball in his hands, put it on the deck, trying to create, move the ball around, and it can lead to some turnovers. And then defensively, yeah, he's been, I think at this point, a willing defender. And I think that's good. He had a couple of steals tonight. And so, look, good on Buddy Hield. I mean, you go for 19 in the fourth quarter to help put a game away, and you're doing something right. But, yeah, you look at the numbers from first half to second half, 8 of 10 in the second half and 6 of 6 from three-point range after a really rough first half. And he was one of the dudes tonight for Golden State, in addition to Lindy Waters and Brandon Podziemski and Jonathan Kuminga. I think it's a real positive nod in this one.
Well, that's where we're going to head to next for not just one, but two cuts. Jonathan Kuminga had a couple of different things to say. He did talk about trying to stay professional about being in the second unit and coming off the bench tonight. But first, we're going to talk about the speech that Draymond Green gave at halftime to intensify the team defense, and is what Kuminga had to say about it.
It all started with Draymond. Draymond came in the locker room, told all of us, they're looking good right now, but once we put pressure, they're all going to fade. And that's the same thing that happened. As long as, if you saw it, we all just came out here with one mindset, just putting pressure on defense. He said, as long as we put pressure on defense, the offense will be easy. So that's what we just came out here and do.
And it was. I mean, the offense, or the defense rather, that they continued to put pressure on the game even after they got down. And I think that was a big part of the reason why they were able to come back. The defense significantly improved. And that's something that, you don't always see. You see a team maybe get their dauber down a little bit and stop competing. And the opposite was the case for the Warriors in this game. And I think, Draymond all over it. They put pressure on the Pelicans. The Pelicans started turning the ball over, and that was the big thing. And you were all over this, Greg. The advantage that the Warriors had in terms of turnovers and points off turnovers is what kept them in the game and gave them life as their comeback continued through the end of that second quarter and on into the second half.
Well, I didn't realize that it got all the way to 34-5 in the advantage, because you mentioned that at the top of the show. When I had sent out that tweet and texted you, it was 16-2 there late in the first half, which was impressive, but also enough of a margin to where that could easily fade and even out in the second half. 34-5 is a stomping and an advantage in an area where the Warriors never get it. It's like turnovers has always been their Achilles heel, even when they won 73 games.
Yeah, it has been. And so you look at, sometimes a simplified game plan on a given night can help. And I think, tonight the Pelicans weren't putting a lot of pressure on the ball, and the Warriors were kind of getting into their stuff. At times it didn't look like they, had enough offensive firepower out there on the court, but they were able to limit turnovers, and then they were able to force a lot of turnovers as well. And it wound up being the difference in the game. Just looking at the numbers as far as the points off turnovers and the turnovers. I mean, 34-5, the final number in terms of the point differential off of turnovers, 24-8 in favor of the Warriors, forcing 24, only having 8. I mean, it really doesn't matter who you're putting out there on the court, Greg. If you have those kinds of numbers, you typically win the game. And the Warriors did tonight, and they did in blowout fashion.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's hear again from Jonathan Kuminga. And I know that the audio quality, as some of the chat is commenting on, sounds like it's from not exactly 2024 between the crowd noise and everything else, but I did still really like the quotes, and I think that's the important thing to break down from it. So this is JK speaking on staying professional and being very productive despite coming off the bench, which ideally he would not want to do.
I mean, it's just a game of basketball. At the end of the day, we always got to stay professional. I mean, that's what we do. Just got to come out here every day and just play. Because that's what we choose to do every day. No matter what circumstance, no matter what's happening, you got to come here and just be a professional and play the game of basketball, play the game that you love, and go home. So it's that simple.
Well, Jonathan Kuminga gets credit from me for being professional, because he was professional tonight. And look, again, I mean, I've been as hard as anybody, I think, in the Bay Area on Jonathan Kuminga at times. But he had to be ticked off when Steve Kerr brought him in and said, hey, I'm going to bring you off the bench, regardless of how Steve Kerr explained it. And I'm sure we'll hear from Steve as to what the explanation was coming up here, Greg. But there's no doubt in my mind Kuminga was probably ticked. But it then becomes, what do you do with it? And what do you do about it? And Kuminga, after getting off to not a great start that we've discussed, sucked it up and was really good for 21 of the 28 minutes he was on the court and made a positive impact on a shorthanded win. So hat tip to Jonathan Kuminga for being a professional. That tonight may wind up, and we'll see what leaks out in the next couple days, but tonight may wind up being another potential turning point or extension of the growth and professionalism of Jonathan Kuminga and his priorities.
Yeah, and look, I also want to give him credit on the second half of last year. I mean, it helped that he was getting a larger role and kind of being that second scorer that the team really needed. But I thought Jonathan Kuminga showed some pretty good leaps of maturity, especially after the team experienced the very real tragedy of Coach Decky's passing and everything. And so this was really good to see from him tonight. I'm right there with you. I don't think on the court he was very impressive in that first stint, but by the time the third quarter came around, I mean, Lindy Waters was the headliner, but Podziemski and Looney and Jonathan Kuminga all deserve a very big hat tip, too, for what they were able to do. And, of course, we wanted to hear the other side of it. That is Steve Kerr explaining his decision to put Kuminga in the second unit. And here's what he had to say.
Well, without Steph and Wiggs, I didn't want to start Trace, Draymond, and JK. I wanted a little more spacing, and I knew it would be a JK game. I knew he would play a lot because he's played well against this team. The matchups are good for him, and so I told him before the game, "You're going to play a lot. This is just about combinations and getting a little more spacing on the floor to start." So all it is just shuffling the lineup to try to get the right 5-man grouping on there. But without Steph and Wiggs, to me, it didn't make sense to start the 3 bigs without those guards.
Well, I would agree with that. And, it was something I've been thinking about for the last maybe 36 hours or so since Andrew Wiggins popped up on the injury report with the low back strain. And by the way, it sounds like Wiggins may have the ability to play in the game tomorrow. So I think Steve Kerr was pretty optimistic, called him questionable for the game tomorrow. Warriors have a couple of days off after tomorrow before going to Houston. So we'll see on all of that. But they may be getting Andrew Wiggins back as early as tomorrow. So I understand the logic. I really do. And, needing a little bit more spacing and needing a little bit more shooting and balance on the court, knowing that you weren't going to have Steph Curry. I think Podziemski and Hield were the automatics in terms of the guys that were going to get the starts, although tomorrow it's probably going to be Lindy Waters, right, Greg? Tomorrow it's got to be tomorrow because Buddy – so Lindy came off the bench Lindy started in the second half. Buddy came off the bench in the second half. That's when Buddy went off. Waters really did it both ways. He came off the bench the first half. He was great. He started the second half. He was great. Steve's got to leave Lindy in the starting lineup at the 2 tomorrow with Podziemski, and then we'll see what happens with Wiggins and Moody and all of that. But I got to think you stick with Buddy off the bench tomorrow, considering the fact that he was spectacular in that second half off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, one would think. It sounds like at least for tonight, it really came down to wanting to start Draymond at the 4 and Trace Jackson Davis at the 5. And so, therefore, Kuminga at the 3 without Steph was not really good enough for Kerr with the spacing. And that makes sense because we kind of talked about this big lineup that they were using when everyone was healthy. And the only reason you're able to get away with it in some sense is because you have the most prolific shooter of all time out on the floor. And tonight you obviously did not have that. So I think it probably came mostly down to wanting to play Draymond at the 4 and not have to play him at the 5. But interesting to hear it. Kerr wasn't lying in that Kuminga did end up getting a lot of minutes and he went better as the game went along. So
look, and I don't want to make the whole show about that, but it really does. It makes it when he does get the opportunity to, when Steve says, "Hey, you're going to get a lot of minutes. I'm not benching you because I'm mad at you or I think you stink or something like that," and then he actually gets the minutes and he performs in the role that Steve has allotted for him. I mean, that goes a long way toward just everything kind of being fused together and then you win the game on top of that shorthanded. Like to me tonight, Greg, is I think tonight's a big culture win for the Warriors because Steve is kind of, I don't want to say vindicated, but this is not a night where Steve's has to explain, and then Kuminga's in the corner of the locker room, ticked off, talking to Anthony Slater and Danny Emmerman about why he's ticked off and disappointed. Like it just none of that now. It's, hey, I told you, this is what you're going to get, and I gave it to you, and you performed. So we're going to do it again tomorrow night. Like it just that goes a long way toward harmony. And I know I've said this a few different times here over the last couple of weeks. Kuminga still, for me, is kind of the one guy that the Warriors have to sort of keep an eye on in terms of, is he with the program? Is he buying in? Is he okay with the roles and everything else? And so, I think tonight goes a long way on the positive line for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it helps everybody involved. It helps the front office who wanted to keep him around. It helps Kuminga, who is going to be more motivated and is trying to play for a contract. And it helps Steve Kerr to, I think vindicated might be a strong word too, but I think just to avoid the possible fallout of situations we saw play out last year where the Warriors lost and Kuminga didn't play and people thought he should have played, and then he let it be known, and then there was outside noise. And so all around, I mean, again, this is really about how he played and responded to the moment. So this isn't just to say, congratulations to everyone on avoiding drama. Like it's pro sports. There's going to be drama. This is not real life by most stretches. And so, yeah, there's that to it. But credit to Jonathan Kuminga for how he responded. And the fact that he played better as the game went along allowed him the opportunity to get more minutes. It helped the team. Everyone was happy. And that's what led us to talking about an 18-point win and not a blowout disaster that it looks like was on the horizon early here.
All right, so we got a couple of more cuts here. Let's wrap it up. What do we get? We got two more, right?
Yeah, two more. One is pretty quick, but we'll do the one that everyone's going to want to hear, and that's Steve Kerr talking about now the 13-man rotation because of what he saw out of Lindy Waters tonight.
Well, we've decided we're going to have a 13-man rotation now, 12 to 13. I've said it since day one of camp. This guy's a ball player. The game flows when he's out there. It's not just because he's a good shooter; he's a good basketball player. It's the shots that he doesn't take because of his patience. It's the cuts that he makes to the basket. It's getting into the fight defensively. From day one of camp, this guy has been one of our best players, frankly. But couldn't get him out there till tonight, and he's going to make his case for more playing time. So I don't know. I'm just happy to have this kind of depth for nights like tonight where we're missing three guys, and it'll pay off big time for us over the course of the 82.
Wow. From day one of camp, he's been one of our best players. Am I getting that quote right? Did I hear that right?
You heard that correctly.
Wow. Yeah. So I look, I mean, he does do more than shoot. I will say that. Like his passing is pretty good. His defense is pretty good. He rebounded the ball tonight, which I think was impressive. And I know that the running joke when the Warriors were coming back and starting to take control of the game was, Steve, after the game, quote, I'm going to have to find Lindy Waters some more minutes. Like, Lindy Waters can play, man. Lindy Waters can play, and tonight kind of proves the point. I mean, he's going to be in the starting lineup tomorrow, I think.
Well, we can't end Sounds of Silver on a night like this without hearing from Lindy Waters at all. So it's a quickie, but a goodie. And Lindy Waters, whether he plays or not, he feels good, but I think he's going to be playing tomorrow. And here's what he had to say about himself.
How tough is it to keep your shot feeling as good as it's to look despite, inactivity in some ways?
I don't know. I got a strap on me. So, yeah, I just wake up and I can shoot it no matter if I'm playing or not.
Wow. So he's confident as well. Wow.
I just wake up and I can shoot it no matter if I'm playing or not.
No, that's the kind of attitude that'll keep you in the NBA for a long time. And it'll get you through a couple of early years of your career where you're not playing a whole lot or you're fluctuating from being a two-way guy and a guy at the back end of a really talented roster as he was in Oklahoma City. But again, credit to the Warriors for finding someone that wasn't going to see time on another team's roster and saying, hey, this guy can come over and be a step or two away from playing for us and be a contributor. I mean, Lindy Waters III has already contributed in a big way as the best player in a Warriors victory, and we're not even a week into the season. Think about that for a second as we close the books on the first 7 games or the first 7 days, 4 games of the Warriors 2024-25 season. All right, great stuff in Sounds of Silver. Wonderful job, Greg. Let's go ahead and pause here one more time, and then we'll come back and we'll get to some fun with numbers. We will wrap things up out here at Harmonic Brewing in the YouTube chat as well as the Warriors get the win 124-106. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All right, back here, final segment at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. Warriors get the win. Still incredible to think. Down by 20, they outscore the Pelicans over the final 3 quarters of the game, just under 3 quarters of the game, 110-72. They were down 34-14, and then they outscored the Pelicans by 38 for the remainder of the game over the final 3 quarters, 110-72. As they win at 124-106. Final segment. Let's sneak in a call here before we get to fun with numbers, and we'll let you know the last time the Warriors won a game after trailing by 20, which is in our fun with numbers segment. So Kevin in San Francisco, though, is up before we get to that here on the Sports Leader. Hey, Kevin, what's going on tonight, my man?
Hey, John. I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We're doing really well tonight. Hell of a win for the Dubs.
A hell of a win. I just wanted to quickly say, I think tonight, Steve Kerr definitely showed the resilience of this team. And I basically just want to ask you guys a question. I think with just how the rotation worked tonight and how well everyone worked together, do you think it's time to possibly move on from Draymond Green and trying to get picks for whatever value you can get out of them and possibly shit even Steph Curry? Thank you.
Yeah, no and no. And our guy running a little material tonight. That's okay. We get into 11 o'clock hour and guys just start running material. Wanting to trade Draymond Green and Steph Curry. Hey, given the way the game went tonight, should the Warriors just trade Draymond and Steph? I'm going to say no and no. Draymond impactful in the game tonight. Plus 15 for Draymond Green with his 3 points and 1 of 4. Kind of a quintessential Draymond. It felt like everybody had a steal and a couple of blocks or a couple of steals and a block tonight. You go through. You start to go through. I mean, Buddy Hield 3 steals tonight. Draymond Green a steal and 2 blocks tonight. TJD a block. Moody a block and a steal. Pajemski a steal and 2 blocks. Kuminga 2 steals and a block. Looney 2 steals and a block. Waters 2 steals. I mean, the Warriors had 16 steals tonight. You get a lot of steals, obviously, when you're forcing turnovers, as the Warriors were, to the tune of 24 forced turnovers and the 34 points that the Warriors got off those turnovers. But no, I think Draymond Green and Steph Curry are safe. I really do. All right. On that note, Greg, you want to comment on that one?
I think you covered it for me.
I think we covered it. But again, you never know. Once we get into the 11 o'clock hour, it's like open mic night. It's like we're at Cobb's or Punchline. It's like, hey, you know what? Bring it. Let's, what do you got? Give me your best 5 jokes. 808 KNBR. All right. I digress. Some fun with numbers tonight. Last time the Warriors won after trailing by at least 20, when was it? It was March of 2023. How about that? March of 2023 against, you want to take a guess who it was against, Greg?
76ers.
It was against the Pelicans.
Oh.
It was against the Pelicans. March 28, 2023. Warriors were down by 20 and came back to win 120-109 over the Pelicans. The Warriors have won 5 of the last 7 against the Pelicans in the Bay Area. The 2 losses, well, they were 2 really ugly games for the Warriors last year, one in April and one in early January that led to some stuff. Talk about Jonathan Kuminga not being happy. One of those games against the Pelicans, that was the case. Warriors turned it over 8 times tonight. That's probably for a good chunk of the year going to be their low turnover. I mean, anytime you get into single digits in terms of turnovers, it's impressive. I did not have Buddy Hield being the Warriors' leading scorer tonight on my bingo card when he had 3 points at halftime. Did not have that at all, but he went for 6 in the third, those 2 late third quarter threes that helped keep the Pelicans at bay after the Warriors had taken the lead, and then 19 in the fourth quarter. 1 point shy of the most points that Buddy Hield has scored in his career in the fourth quarter. He did score 21 in the fourth quarter one time. It's the second time this season that Buddy Hield has made 7 3-pointers. I mean, unbelievable. 7 of 11 for Buddy Hield. He hit 7 in Salt Lake City the other night after 5 in the opener, and he was 6 for 6 from 3-point range in the second half of this one after a rough start. He's got 23s through the first 4 games with the Warriors. How about this one? It's the most by any player in their first 4 games with a new team for Buddy Hield. Career high 8 boards for Lindy Waters with 8 in this one, and Brandon Pajemski 19 points in double figures 2 of the last 3 games. He's been out with Buddy Hield, working hours and hours and hours deep into the night. That's one of the quotes of the night from Brandon Pajemski. Just him and Buddy just in the gym shooting at like 11 o'clock at night. It's what they do. It's what ballers do. They work on their craft. And of course, we had the video for you on the KNBR socials of Pods in Portland 2 hours after the game. I mean, he was getting up shots that night after he took an offer, but was a team leading plus 34 on the night. So impressive stuff from Buddy Hield tonight and from Brandon Pajemski as the Warriors end up getting the victory in this one. Greg, some final thoughts to you, man, as we wrap this thing up here on a Tuesday night and get ready for the back-to-back.
Fun show, fun game, nice welcome surprise, and we'll see where it leads to. But happy for Lindy Waters III at the very least, because that's a big night for him. And, you know, the timing is crazy, like I said, where Kerr went as far as to say, I would feel comfortable starting him against the Clippers, and then for him to actually get the chance to go and lead the offense to a comeback win like that tonight. I mean, the Warriors right now without Curry, Wiggins, and Melton, it is a big collection of role players, and Draymond Green still is elite defensively, but offensively does not do, anything that's going to tip the needle. And they're making it work. They're playing together well. So excited to see where it all leads to. But we are right back here tomorrow, and it could be a very different. Could be a very different kind of show if the Warriors just trot like, but that was a great win, and we're good. They gotta come out with energy again.
Well, look, getting the first one is really what matters. Making sure you get one of these 2 before you go out on that road trip to Houston, Washington, Boston, Cleveland, and Oklahoma City. Definitely a difficult trip. Really appreciate everybody in the YouTube chat. Want to make sure I shout out San Jose Jazz Fan the Fourth and Douglas Mikes and Ebe here and Erwin Kwong and everybody. East Oakland Zay. Appreciate you. Max Lopez, OPG, Bill M, Real Takes. A lot of your comments. Joe Schmo, thank you for the nod. Appreciate it. Robert. Just a wonderful, wonderful night out here at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. Thanks to Shay and thanks to Alex and thanks to Jimmy and Eddie and everybody. Mike and Grace were out here earlier. Just a wonderful job. Make sure you stop by and say hi. If you're coming to the game tomorrow, we're out here after the game. Dubs OT with JD. What a night. Warriors get the win, and we will talk to you tomorrow right here from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Hield wheeling into Alvarado. Kaminga. Waters is in. Drops the sledgehammer. Lindy Waters. With him in, Golden State plus 16. With him out, -8.
Look at the reaction from Steph and Curry over there. That says it all.
Oh, hell yeah.
First of all, you guys start off liking each other.
Lindy Waters flipped the game. Big, fat dub.
I just wake up and I can shoot it no matter if I'm playing or not.
When we have a live post-game show, we're undefeated right now.
I love you, JD. Bye.